Hi, this is John Allard, and this is my report on the 4th week of being on the Prolongevity program. So the story so far is that I met up with a fella called Graham Phillips a few months ago. We didn't get on very well. We sort of rubbed each other the wrong way, but actually realized both had something to offer. I started doing some videos for Graham, and then out of that experience, I realized I might well be in need of the Prolongevity service myself. Now, this is despite having had an NHS medical just over 12 months ago, and about 9 months ago a nurse come to the office and do all my usual blood pressure and blood tests. So I felt, pretty fit and a bit overweight, but not really in need of anything specific. But after listening to what Graham had to say, the science was so compelling that I thought I'd be a guinea pig myself and go through this and do maybe the very first proper video blog. So the story so far, please do watch the early videos because it'll explain exactly how the service works, was I was put on a couple of weeks of benchmarking, and Graham essentially got very concerned about some sort of signs of high blood pressure, and I ended up going to hospital and being treated. I'm now an outpatient, being treated for hypertension. And there were other things which weren't so good as well, which I won't go into detail. But obviously, I wasn't in such good shape as I thought. Then the last 2 weeks have been a transition. So I've been going through what after really was quite a stormy period, norming. So in my last video, I talked about all of the experiences that I had with what was almost like cold turkey, coming off a very high sugar, high carbohydrate diet, and the body adjusting, and it's quite a jolt to the system. And then there's the next phase, which is performing, where things are starting to work properly. So let's have a look at some of the figures and results that came in over the last 4 weeks. And I think they're quite remarkable, considering that I haven't even been to the gym. I've just been doing 2 things. So here's the secret of what we've been doing. One is getting a full 8-hour sleep a night. So pretty much most nights, that's what I get. And in the past, I've been surviving on 4 to 5 hours, which really wrecks your metabolism and your ability to process sugar, and also sends your body into a sort of flight syndrome where you need to eat and feed in order to defend yourself. And the second thing was just an adjustment in terms of diet. So let's have a look at the numbers. Let me just flick my computer on, and let's have a look at sugar. So this is a map of the sugar in my system during those first 2 weeks of benchmarking, and you can see what I described in previous videos as a kind of oscillation. The light blue are the highs and lows, and then the dark blue line is a median. And you can see what was happening was I was taking on sugar or carbohydrates converted into sugar, and then of course that was being knocked down all the time. So you've got this yo-yo effect going on in your system. And then I moved on to the Prolongevity program, and you can see that the fluctuations slowed down, but I went into hypo mode, and you can see I was going below a normal level. I was just sort of dipping under, and that's because there was so much insulin inside me that it was kind of forcing my sugar out of my system, and I was feeling very tired and lethargic and achy, and essentially that was the week of cold turkey. And then last week you can see that I'm a little bit more up in terms of sugar levels, less hypos, so I've gone down to about 6 hypo events, and basically that's this effect. Now what I also have had to do, Graham gets you to put in all of your vital signs. So what I'm showing you here is a little spreadsheet that I share with Graham. So it's got my target weight, and then it's got my actual weight, and I hit the magic ton this year, so I was over 100 kilos. So that's quite obese, and I've set myself some targets. So the red here is lose 5 kilos, 10 kilos. I'm still in heavily obese at that stage. Then amber is 15 to 20 kilos loss, and then if I can get myself down to under 11 stone, then I'll be in what everybody thinks is a good weight. And you can see that we've got some other indicators. We've got some expensive scales at home, so I can measure my BMI and visceral fat. And visceral fat is really something that Michael Mosley, the television doctor, pointed out a couple of years ago, is a hidden fat that causes all kinds of health ailments and risks. And mine was pretty high, so it's in a dangerous level. It needs to be down to 12 or below, according to most medics. And then down here we've got blood pressure, and you can see a sea of yellow. Now yellow highlights high blood pressure. So what I've gained is an insight that for my tender years, I need to be under 140 systolic and under 90 or 90 or under for diastolic. And so what I've done is highlight all the high blood pressure readings, and you can see why Graham was a bit concerned. We hit about 211 on that particular reading, and it was always higher after a day's work of stress. And in fact, towards the end of this, alarm bells were ringing. Graham was badgering me to go and see the GP, and I was regularly hitting a 200, 220 level. It's not safe, and as one doctor said, Mr. Allard, the body isn't designed to survive for very long at these levels. Two risks, heart attack or stroke. If you get a heart attack, you've got a 50% survival rate. So they put me onto medication, and so I'm now taking blood pressure medication to rectify matters whilst Graham works on the whole lifestyle change. And maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to lower the dose or even come off that medication in time. So the progress then in week 3, so that's when we started doing we've done the benchmarking, and we're actually now on a low carb, low sugar diet that's been fully customized. And you can see quite rapid weight loss. Apparently this weight loss slows down, but you can see also my visceral fat, which I was most concerned about, is also starting to come down a little bit. And most importantly, my blood pressure is getting within tolerance. Still a bit high in the afternoon, as you'd expect, but there's only one really worrying reading there, and that was just as I was taking the medication and coming onto lower blood pressures due to that. So that's all good. And then last week, you can see just slightly less concern in terms of blood pressure, no serious blood pressure, just really borderline high blood pressure. And most importantly, the weight loss is continuing. So by controlling the amount of carbs and sugar, I'm really getting some fantastic weight loss. It varies naturally depending on how much water you've got in your body and etc. But you can also see the visceral fat has come down to 16. So I'm within a striking distance, just 4 more points, and I'll be in a safe zone. So that basically is all good news. What I would say is that it's actually been a very easy process. Obviously some of the medical news that came out of it, which I wouldn't have discovered unless I'd been on Prolongevity, was a little bit worrying and slightly traumatic. But the process of actually changing your lifestyle is far easier than it looks. It takes a little bit of reading and a bit of research. It also takes partnership with your wife or whoever you're cohabiting with, because you'll often be eating the same meals, and you really do need to change what's in the fridge. A huge thank you to Sue, who's been along and part of the program. The one thing I would say is the NHS has been incredibly good when I really needed it, when Graham badgered me to go and see the urgent care department. But the one disappointing aspect is the GP has not been very interested in this, and I find that fascinating. And we've written not one, not two, not three but 3 letters of concern to the practice manager, and they haven't bothered to answer back. And I've now raised it with the Quality Care Commission as an issue, and I haven't heard back from them either. But my life could have been put in risk by a doctor who really just didn't care, and the health checks which they did, which were really worthless. And you know, for the little bit of money you have to pay to go on this program, I'd say it's better than anything out there, because it's real time, it's real life. You know, spot checks even by companies with commercial interests, like selling you a £300,000 life assurance, not really reliable. That's been proven. But Prolongevity is, I think, really starting to work, and as you can see, some dramatic changes. Just one final thing I'm very, very proud of. Everything is feeling loose. I couldn't hardly fit into a suit. I'm just going to show off now. Ladies, don't worry, I'm not going to undress. But this is my belt, and on the belt you can see all the notches. I used to be there, now I'm down there, so it's going to be a trip down to the shoemaker leather repairer to get some more notches put in. But that's quite a substantial weight loss without having to go to the gym. The reason I'm not going to the gym at the moment is I wasn't confident with all of the cardio and hypertension issues. So, you know, I'm working with Graham, and we'll choose the right time to sort of step into the exercise zone. But I'm halfway through, and as the old Beatles song used to say, it's getting better all the time. And so join me in my next episode of the Prolongevity program, and I'll probably give you some of the little delicious cookery tips that I've been enjoying. That is a very key point, is actually changing diet. Food becomes an adventure and more flavoursome, and you know, it's not all hair shirts and lettuce leaves. It's actually delicious to move on to a Prolongevity lifestyle. So that's it. Bye for now.